This is another episode of The Shank Show with Andrea Ferguson and Shanka Poncelet. And yes, my name is Shanka Poncelet. Andrea Ferguson is next to me.
Hello.
But as a gentleman, I happen to name your name first,
How
Andrea.
kind of you.
All right. I try to change that. Try to not be a gentleman anymore.
No!
Okay, today, our dear friends, we talk about cybersecurity version number 2, because yesterday we spoke about phishing emails and also about fake websites. Today, we go into something that is called social hacking, in where people try to get to know you and find out details about you to either lure you into exposing information to them that they can then leverage, or they just get to know details about you. For example, they get to know your mother's maiden name, or where you went to your first high school, and what was the make of your first car. So these typical security questions. So Andrea, what do you know about this, and have you ever been subject to it?
Well, yes, I think we all have. I think it's hard to live on the internet these days and not have these stupid attempts to hack you, which is crazy. I mean, they don't even try to steal your password through some crazy cyber security attack anymore. It's hacking you, the person, as you said, to lure information out of you. I think we've all seen the duplicate accounts on Facebook, for example. I'm sure that might try to happen on other platforms now, where there's a way to get around it. And then once they friend you, it's like, you know, you're subject to whatever it is that they try to throw at you. But yeah, so those are the imposter frauds, are the ones that I just described. Maybe we should start there with imposter frauds, because I think you've had a pretty interesting experience recently.
Yeah, well, that was really a combination of imposter and social hacking. Although I haven't quite detected the social hacking aspect yet, but that might just be part of her or his very elaborate strategy. So what Andrea is referring to is the following story. I am on Facebook, on my personal Facebook, and every now and then you get a request by someone who typically is of the opposite sex, and they either look very beautiful or very rich or both, and they try to communicate with you, and usually they have an approach that you immediately can tell this is bullshit. Also, very, very often, because these accounts get reported and they have to continuously create new accounts. So very often the account has no history. You can tell it's just been opened a few weeks ago. There's not really any information on there other than what they were able to upload within a few days. And that is a huge red flag. Now, this particular person had done a pretty good job in really populating her account, and she also had other connections, not many, but other connections that were not only men or not only women, but it was like a healthy mix. And here was one of the biggest differences that probably led me to at least start conversing with her, which was her account actually had posts that had nothing to do necessarily directly with selling you something or like showing that she has extreme wealth. it was in this case
Which, by the way, creates the psychological security. Oh, they're wealthy. They don't need money from you.
Yeah. So in this case, it was just pictures of a fashion model, and yeah, she would just show runway pictures and stuff like that. So, and then I must have started responding to messages, and then she said, okay, I'm in Las Vegas now, we're here for a fashion show, and I must have asked, so who is the client? And she said, this and this brand. And then I looked up the brand and I could only find shoes. So I said, well, these are great shoes. And then she said, oh no, you're mistaken. They have way more than shoes. They have this and that and this and that. So she was actually, she or he, I don't know
Or
who.
they.
Or they. They were actually knowledgeable about the field. And I would say even truly enthusiastic about the field of fashion. So that's like the next level imposter who manages to bring a level of authenticity into it that really makes you say, okay, that's maybe something real behind it.
Oh, I was just raising my hand. I'm sorry, I threw him off. I had something that I wanted to say, but I wanted him to complete his thought without distracting him.
You really
I totally distracted him.
completely off.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, if you're wondering the relevance to you, well, first of all, you got to remember, and especially if you have something like 50,000 followers, or maybe your child does, or somebody in your family or whatever, that still makes you and your family or company or whoever subject, open, vulnerable to attacks, because people want to get your information. Data is the new currency, they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and people, we were watching something, gosh, I wish I could remember exactly the documentary, that was talking about how today the, I gotta see. Today, there's companies, they're not companies, they are actual hackers, biohacker, like super deep security threats will take 2 and 3 years to develop profiles, websites, I should say, before launching an attack. And it's harder for the US to intercept and catch it because they've been around for so long. So there's legitimacy there. Yeah. Yes. So I have to at this point interject and say, I'm Shankar's partner in business and in life, fully aware of all of this, and I get a kick out of it too. I find it entertaining, and our team as well. Now we have a team member who is sitting there hunting down information details as well with me. So yesterday we actually looked up the concert that was on their Instagram that they showed. Oh, I went to a concert and blah blah blah.
Okay.
And we found the artist, which was Imagine Dragons, and we looked up the tour dates to see if it corresponded with the location that they said they were in. Yeah. And it did. Yeah.
So that's why I have a feeling that this person, because what I know, so first of all, the next step here was, the person asks, can we take it to WhatsApp messages? And I see that happening very often. And I think it is way more efficient to use WhatsApp to do that in mass, and also they get your phone number like that. Ooh. Right?
Or whatever details you use.
So, and having your phone number is very powerful because a lot of the two-factor authentication methods nowadays require your phone number. Yes. Okay, so now once you're on WhatsApp, the conversation continues, and again, me being aware, I have the conversation in a way where at least I think that I'm not giving anything away that is of help, But, who knows? Maybe they are so masterful in their way that they have me thinking I'm super secure. I'm not. Who knows?
He's
But
online every day at this time.
but
Whereabouts are here.
but for most of you, it's probably best not to even continue the conversation at that point, because you have him on Facebook Messenger. Why would you need that to go to WhatsApp? And then when you ask why, they usually have a very stupid reason that doesn't really hold ground. I think I asked her, and she said something along the lines of, "Oh, well, then it would be easier if we wanted to meet that person we know in common." And she kept repeating that person's name because she saw on Facebook that we have that I know that person. And so, and but that reasoning didn't hold up, right? Like, why would WhatsApp make it easier to coordinate a meeting? But I just went with it, because I kind of am interested in observing the journey.
And being that we're here in good old US of A and it's Sioux country, I have to again give a disclaimer. Shankar Ponsale is a trained professional. He has a background for over a decade in law enforcement, okay, and investigations. So we do not encourage the average person to divulge any kind of information, even when you're going on vacation, or your child's school name, or any of these kinds of things, especially if you're working at a company. Ours is growing, of course, so we see increased, oh gosh, all kinds of scam, phishing scams, email scams, scam. And it's just, fortunately, everybody is really, really in the know. We're all very aware of keeping, like Shankar was talking about, the two-factor authentication on. If you don't have that, get it now. Two-factor authentication, you can download an authenticator from Google. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a good point, Andrea. When you activate two-factor authentication, I know getting a text is way easier to do that. But if you download your authenticator app, there's a digital signature that ties that app to your specific device. In other words, there's really no other way how someone could get that code other than you on that phone. It also means that if you lose that phone, you're pretty much hosed. And that's why when you set up these authenticator apps, you have to download, or at least they recommend, you download, it's like a long sequence of numbers, that's the security key, and you physically print that out and you lock it in a safe at home, for example. So you need to do that, otherwise you could risk never ever having access to your accounts that are tied to that two-factor authentication app. But I highly recommend doing that, not using text two-factor authentication, but those apps.
And I would also like to say, since we're giving tips on how to protect yourself, if you're a business owner or you're listening to this, you can, I remember Shankar being asked numerous times, how can we protect against this? How can we protect against that? Especially when that, what was it that happened a couple of quarters ago with that huge, almost government scam? It was the online, do you remember? It was all the rage. There was some kind of attack, and then it was like a crypto attack. It was some kind of attack.
Oh yeah, the ransomware, not ransomware. They basically deploy Trojan horses on important networks, and I think it was an energy company or an oil company, something along those lines. And then they shut everything down, the hackers, and they said, "Hey, pay us Bitcoin, an enormous amount, and we'll release your files and your operations. Otherwise, no, you will not be operational." And that was like every day they lost millions of dollars because of that.
And it's interesting because they don't necessarily attack the company directly. They attack either the software or the third-party things that the company uses.
Right.
So how do you protect against that? I remember you said the number one thing to do is commit to ongoing security awareness for your team.
Yeah.
You really, really, really need to hammer in again and again and again how important it is to not leave passwords lying around, to not store them in the browser, to not have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and your child's name even as your password.
Mm-hmm.
To not be, I don't know, there's a lot of things that I was thinking of that it's amazing. It's amazing how many people do things and you're like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Using the same password for everything, for example.
Yeah.
Not changing them regularly enough,
Yeah, actually, so you should have at least a training for your entire team once a year to bring back awareness. And right now, phishing scams for the general type of employee is still the biggest risk factor. And that would be your email that says, download this document, but before you can get to it, please log into the OneDrive or whatever, the Google Drive.
Oh yeah, that's the most common.
Yeah, it's very common, and I'm sure you've gotten one of those emails, and I'm sure in most times your browser warned you, your antivirus software warned you, or you fell for it, and what happened, most likely your email, someone was starting to send emails on your behalf, right? Because that's the first thing they do. They have robots that send out emails with the same trick, the same file that asks for the password. So it's like a virus, literally.
Can I just bring in the top brands that are impersonated in these phishing scams?
Oh, sure.
So Google, Amazon, WhatsApp, Facebook, Microsoft, Outlook, Netflix, Apple, Huawei, and PayPal.
Yep.
Then of course they want to get you to click a link, download an attachment, enter your credentials on a website, and that's all really, really bad.
Yeah, and even if you have turned on your two-factor and they cannot get into the account, these hackers know that a lot of people, you'd be surprised, a lot of people use the same password everywhere. So they then have a database. Again, this is robots. This is not someone doing that manually. As soon as you enter your password, what happens is, again, they download your email list and send the same email to all of your friends. And also, they have robots trying every big website. So if they get your Google password, they will try that on Facebook. They will try it on Amazon. They will try it on Microsoft to find out if you were one of the stupid people who use the same password all over the place. And maybe if they get lucky, you even forgot to turn on two-factor on one of the other sites. And then they're in.
Those stupid people, by the way. I mean, I learned a lot when I joined Shanks. I learned a lot about how vulnerable I was. And truly, it is not anything like I'm COO of this company. I have a lot of keys to the kingdom. And I mean, I'm limited in what I don't need. What stays in IT and tech will stay there, and I'm very grateful for that. But I also know that I am just targeted just because of who I am, having this title. There's ways to search. There's ways to look on LinkedIn even and find targeted individuals, which, by the way, spear phishing is not anonymous, random targeting. It's targeting certain individuals or groups. And then what they do is they have this specific way. So during 2015, hackers completed $1 billion heist spanning 40 countries with spear phishing. The scammers sent bank employees phishing emails with an attachment to deploy Carbonite malware. And then once they clicked it, the hackers could control the employees' workstations and were able to infect ATM servers remotely. So this is why it's important of what we're talking about. Yes, we're talking about biohacking now, or not biohacking, that's adapted, that's a different conversation, about social hacking. But you got to think about the two and how they go hand in hand, because once somebody knows you or gets to know you, then they may try other attempts in these areas that we're talking about. And again, all of the people you're connected to, they know where you work, they know a little bit about your family, and you just leave yourself exposed. So
Yeah.
kids, do not try this at home. Don't try what Shankar is doing. It's also kind of a data analysis, if you will. We're doing a case report.
Well, yeah, I can't talk about it if I don't experience it, you know, and that's people actually are very interested in the topic. I posted about it on LinkedIn yesterday, and yeah, it was a very popular post.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say that, a polarizing post too, which is good, by the way. If you have content that is polarizing, the algorithm likes when there's a little bit of controversy going on, and that's a good. You know, that's a good segue actually into a program that I want to briefly mention here, our Content Masters, in plural, contentmasters.club. Go check it out. And what we do there is every morning we'll meet for half an hour and we talk about content. We talk about an idea for the day and best practices. And since it is every day, over time, you learn so much. You become your own social media expert. And I've been really focusing on, I've been teaching people since age 16. So go check it out, yes. contentmasters.club.
Yeah. So before we close,
yep.
Let's make a prediction. How long do you think this scam is going to, like, I can't wait till we really do give the stats on this.
Yeah.
And we can say this attempted scam had a duration of.
Yeah. I'll definitely report. I think if I report a little bit maybe once a week, I think that could be really like a series almost where people wait, okay, what's going on now?
Like a story you follow.
And the reason this needs to happen on LinkedIn is because that's the only place where I'm not connected with her, I believe. Or him.
Who would know? Who would know?
Yeah. So anyways, really the takeaway here is, okay, so don't become paranoid. That's not the purpose of this talk either. The takeaway is be educated. If you have a team, meet once a year with your security provider and have just some general education and awareness around specifically phishing again. The more advanced topics, you can briefly touch on them, but to be honest, your average employee will fall for it anyway because it is advanced.
Oh, no.
So you need, if you are a bigger company who really kind of is exposed to more threat, then you just need to work with security companies to help you there. There's no way around it. But, you know, as long as you're small and you're a freelancer or whatnot, just have that awareness and know basically what we spoke about today. That would be a good start. Yeah, I'm thinking about turning this into all of our talks. Maybe we should also put that in our Shanks podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let us know if you think that's a good idea. Would you subscribe to that podcast? Because right now this goes out on LinkedIn in a daily live, but then it's gone. It's forgotten in the LinkedIn ether. Whereas a podcast, you know, someone could always go back and start from scratch and all of that good stuff. So what do you think about that idea?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I think we could also just do a series on this.
On the technology, on the security part,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, good ideas here. Give us a like, follow us if you are not already.
Connect with us.
Yeah, connect with us. Maybe even share it. And wish you a great rest of your day. And the weekend is just upon us. Just one more Friday here to tackle until you have your weekend.
And we finished 1 mile. Woohoo!
Woo! All right.
See y'all later.
See ya.